banks globally are spending trillions in IT. If you double click, banks are spending north of 60 billion in core banking overall. Out of that 60 billion, I would say only 15 billion are spent with core banking providers. If you combine the total revenue of the next-gen category provider, we don't exceed altogether 300 million in revenue, okay? So the potential for that is huge. So I think the very nature of the core banking market is its level of fragmentation. And I think this is why there is an opportunity for emerging players, scale up like ours, to thrive.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining another episode of Wrap Up Podcast. Today, I have Martin, CEO of Skaleet, French-based fintech company. Martin, it's great to have you on my podcast. Welcome.
Hi, Sam. Thanks for having me on your podcast. Very happy to chat today.
Perfect. Well, Martin, I want to make this episode all about core banking systems and how they are growing and developing, especially in Europe and the UK. And I think you are one of the best people to answer my questions regarding the core banking systems. But before we jump into core banking system itself, could you please explain what Skaleet does in a couple of words so that we all understand where you guys are, what you are building, and what problems you are solving?
Yes, absolutely, Sam. And I'm glad, I hope I can answer most of your questions because everything that we do is basically around core banking technology. So Skaleet is a B2B SaaS core banking provider where basically we are the technological backbone behind the operating system of any retail bank or financial institutions with a big focus on Europe. So really what we do is two things. We help institutions launch new products with a quick time to market.
Okay.
And second, we help institutions modernize their backbone that become obsolete, that become indebted, and some changes needs to be inflected. And that's what we stand for.
Okay, fantastic. No, I am more or less familiar with Skaleet because in my previous role, we were looking for a core banking provider and we came across your company. We did our due diligence, we reviewed your products, but one thing I wanted to ask is that what makes Skaleet different from other players in the market? For example, I have a few players in the market, names, for example, Temenos, FIS, or Finastra. What makes you different?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. And I think if I zoom out also with regards to the market structure of core banking, I think what's really interesting in this market, if you look at its structure, is that theoretically it's almost an infinite market. Basically, banks globally are spending trillions in IT. If you double click, banks are spending north of 60 billion in core banking overall. Out of that 60 billion, I would say only 15 billion are spent with core banking providers, software editors. And as part of that 15 billion yearly spent in core banking software editors, the market leader, which is Temenos that you mentioned, only does $1 billion in revenue, if you will. So I think the very nature of the core banking market is its level of fragmentation. And I think this is why there is an opportunity for emerging players, scale up like ours, to thrive. And therefore, we are part of a small group of what we call next-gen core banking players, together with Membo, Thought Machine, that I'm sure you have heard of. And we go about competing against the older players, the incumbents, Sopra, FIS, Temenos, that you mentioned. And basically, as part of our group, what we do is we provide a modular, cloud-first, API-first, real-time alternative to those players with, as a key objective and differentiator, the speed to market, the time to market, therefore the ability to deploy quickly a new technical backbone. Now, if you look as part of the smaller group of next-gen technologies, Skaleet stands out with a couple of factors. I think the first one, and I really believe in that, is the focus. We have a European focus mostly. And the European focus is almost a European Union and a SEPA zone focus. So I know less about the UK. I know very
Right.
well about Western Europe. I know
Mm-hmm.
very about the SEPA zone. I know very well about European regulatory. And I think, given the geopolitical context that we all live in, the importance of a regional approach
Mm.
is at all-time high. And this
Okay.
is the strategy we are executing on. That's the first thing. Secondly, I think a lot of players have tried to enter that market and disrupt the incumbents, but there
Mm-hmm.
is a difference between intention and reality.
Right.
I think the thing with Skaleet is that we've been battle tested. We've been working on our product and set of solutions for a decade. And we've gone through very long audits of tier one banks. We've
All right.
onboarded millions of customers in 15 countries. We have 30 customers, and we process like billions of payment value every year. So having an idea in terms of what disruption can look like and actual tangible results, there is a big difference between both. And the third
Mm-hmm.
and last pillar is really our solution approach, where I have a deep conviction that most of our customers or
Okay.
prospects do not really know how to buy those things because it's almost like buying a house or
Mm-hmm.
like do it probably two times in your professional life, sometimes never,
Right.
some once. And
Okay.
therefore, we're there to sell a software, but we
Mm-hmm.
are there to help customers buy. And
Okay.
therefore, we need to show how and show up with an ecosystem of solutions that can be stitched together also in order
Mm-hmm.
to reduce the perception risk for our
All right.
customer prospects. And I think that's something we are honing our craft on a daily basis. And we usually stand out in the overall customer experience because we pave the way for success.
Okay. Martin, you mentioned two important things. You said upcoming or new players are different because they are modular, and the second one is you guys are faster. I mean, in deployment, of course. Okay, what makes you modular? Can you walk me through, please? Let's say if you talk about the architecture of Skaleet, how modular is it?
Yeah. So what it means basically is that from a go-to-market standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
we want to launch a saving product,
Okay.
going to launch a saving product. Okay, so it's not like buy the whole thing or nothing kind
Okay.
of. So our pricing engine, our pricing machinery, our approach to market is very much modular. So we go about contextualizing factors of success by assets.
All
Um,
right.
from an architecture standpoint, we are trying as well uh, to have what we call a modulate approach. So not
Okay.
necessarily hundreds of microservices that are very difficult to orchestrate in our business, but let's say if you want to buy a payment engine
All
and a
right.
payment way, we are going to deploy a payment engine in your context. And you don't have to buy, let's say, the account management piece of it. You can leverage
Mm-hmm.
alternative software in order to do that. Um,
Okay.
we do not sell front ends. We do have some front ends for our customers who are in a hurry to provide something to their customers, but mostly we would be providing a back end, and
Okay.
therefore our customers would go about composing their own architecture, combining Skaleet's core banking backend with their own custom front ends, for instance.
So basically, you guys exist alongside the existing systems. But what if I am a new player in the market and I just want to launch? Let's say, well, I don't have anything. I have nothing literally. I want to launch. So what happens then? If I come to you, can you give me everything, or how does it different uh, from let's say banks or fintechs that already have something existing?
Yeah. So I think, Sam, to your question, there are two different groups of buyers.
Okay.
Uh, there are institutional buyers or buyers with pre-existing business, not
Right.
necessarily in the financial services space. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
it's about FDG United, which is a leading European lottery company. They started a side business relating to financial services. We help them do that. We work also for SD Works, which is a leading HR tech provider entering the embedded finance space. We help them do that.
Yeah.
I think we are a good solution for that because we provide as close as we can as an end-to-end solution. Uh,
Okay.
We would help the customer compose the ecosystem. We will show them what to select and how. And we also have some connectors on the shelf so that we
Okay.
really put the burden operationally and technologically on our customer side. So we
Right.
really go about packaging something that will be closed from an end-to-end solution. Now,
Mm-hmm.
there's a big difference between this and the second group, which is a pure de novo startup where you don't have anything, you are just getting started. In
Mm-hmm.
those instances, generally, our customers are better off leveraging a bank as a service provider and start really as an agent,
Okay.
because in order to operate a core banking like ours, which is a full-fledged one,
Okay.
where you combine different providers, you need a license as well because
Mm-hmm.
customers are regulated. We are not a BaaS, we are a pure play software. The
Okay.
level of maturity, resources, expertise, as well as means you need to have in order to do that is at
Mm-hmm.
the barriers to entry is still relatively high.
Okay.
And we are not, as a software editor, the best partner for completely de novo startups,
Mm-hmm.
which really tend to work with bank as a service providers as agents, as I mentioned. And when they
Okay.
reach a certain level of maturity, they
Right.
go scaling their business economically, technologically, operationally. They apply for a license in Europe. Then they need to make a choice with regards to technology, and then they choose us.
Martin, I have two more questions regarding the speed. You also mentioned that in addition to modularity. So, can you give me a couple of examples? For example, how fast you guys can deploy? Because again, from my personal experience, I had this experience of working on core banking system, and sometimes it's very challenging. It takes a lot of time. So, how fast you guys are, let's say, in comparison to again incumbents, Temenos, FIS, or others?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Obviously, it depends on the use case. Uh,
Okay.
and I think next gen providers, as we are, need also to speak with some humility. Okay, if
Mhm.
you're thinking about migrating JP Morgan like end to end, you are not going to do that within a year. Whatever you do, whoever you are, that's a reality.
Right.
You're
Right.
grounded reality in terms of what it takes to transition legacy to modernity software. Now,
Right.
I think where we really stand out is in our ability to launch something new quickly. I will give you one example. Uh,
Please.
with BPC, which is one of the largest European banking group, we launched a de novo but connected to group factories, a de
Okay.
novo corporate banking activity in the Netherlands within a year.
Within a year. Okay.
A year, we were able to really get started with a new business
Mhm.
in a foreign country,
Okay.
while being compliant with the overall structure of the group. Okay,
Okay.
so cybersecurity, connectivity to payment factories, compliance with AML, KYB,
Yeah.
everything you can imagine compatible with a tier one bank. We are
Yeah.
able to do that. Within 6 months, we are able to launch an embedded finance business for a large software editor. We did it with SDWorks, a pan-European HR tech business last year. We did it with FDG United. We got started with a digital bank proposition within 6 months. Uh,
Mhm.
we are able to transition fintechs out of a bank as a service provider within 6 or 7 months.
Okay.
So roughly getting starting with us, depending on the level of
Use
intricacies
case.
you have and use case with existing platforms, it's between 5, 6 months and a year.
Mhm.
Uh, and probably that would be 2, 3, 4 years at a minimum with existing solutions. Uh,
Okay.
it's not only about time, uh,
Okay.
also about cost avoidance. It's
Mhm.
also about risk mitigation.
Okay.
There is saying, I come from M&A as well
All right.
myself. Time kills all deal.
Mhm.
I think time kills all IT project. Um,
Absolutely.
so, like whatever you do that is not in a foreseeable distance of success, timing
Right.
wise, in my mind, is set up for failure, and
Right.
that's something we keep in our mind very, very clearly. Now, the reality is that if you want to migrate
Okay.
from legacy to modernity, you have a whole bunch of other constraints
Mm-hmm.
to really understand the data structure of the legacy system. You need to find documentation relevant to it. You need to respect the use cases as they were, because you need to transition from something to another thing. And that
Yeah.
can take between 18 months and 2 years, maybe a bit shorter if you do it extremely well. But
Yeah.
in some ways, there is no huge shortcuts for that. So you switch more like from 5 years to 2 years or 18 months. So the
Right.
order of magnitude also differs in that instance.
Well, Martin, you also mentioned that when we talk about core, you and I also read a lot, we talk always about migration. Why do we need to always migrate the core? Is it only about incumbent players, or I mean, anyone in the market at some point need to migrate or update their core? I mean, I know many players, and I go to their websites, and everyone says we help you to migrate or update your core. Okay, why do I need to update my core?
Yeah. So, like historically, the reality is the following. Also, for the following reason, uh,
Okay.
historical players have been architected with two broad concepts.
Okay.
Uh, the first one is um, on-premise kind of architecture. So you deploy an application layer on top of local infrastructure.
Yeah.
You don't have control over what's going on once it's
Mm-hmm.
one. And secondly, in most cases, you end up as a software editor with as many products as customers.
Okay.
So therefore, when you combine multiple code bases, a lot of customization with on-premise architecture, you
Mm-hmm.
have no alternative but to deploy something and let it live
Okay.
for as needed, to a point where you need to upgrade to the following version because you need to do more changes. The tech that has been used is somehow obsolete as well. And so the software editor is facing its own product obsolescence as it moves along. And the
Okay.
only alternative is to go back to the customer and do the heavy lifting of transitioning something that has lived for 7 or 8 years to something new,
Okay.
some additional customer value that is very hard to explain. And that comes like a huge burden where everybody pays huge license fees, get to
Mm-hmm.
maintenance fees for 7 years, and then go again through the whole mess of upgrading the platform. I think if you switch to modernity, as we
Okay.
as we are trying to do, you
Yep.
have both a cloud proposition,
Okay.
therefore control the infrastructure end to end. We know what's going on and we
Mm-hmm.
control it over time. And secondly, you move to a product approach to core banking. Therefore, at Skaleet, we have
Mm-hmm.
one single code base that is
Okay.
used by all of our customers. Now, obviously, it's modular, as you mentioned. So not everybody is using exactly the same thing.
All right.
Configurations can be different. Usage per module can be different. But in the end, you are
Mm-hmm.
exploiting same code base.
Mm-hmm.
And you combine those two principles with the continuous delivery approach, which is, I think,
Okay.
the pillar of cloud, where
All right.
we upgrade all of our customers to a new small iteration of our software.
Okay.
So
But
basically,
look.
once you migrate to Skaleet,
Mm-hmm.
you are never going to do a migration again. You are going to micro migrate, if you will, every 2 months by iteration, and never again, if you stay with us and you love us, never again you will have to go through the big, like ram down of saying, oh, I have to migrate. Like the whole world
Makes
of
sense.
plan is behind us, and you move with small iterations.
What do you think is different in core banking from what was like 5 years ago? What's changing now?
Yeah, I think like the proposition that we have never really changed. Okay, we've
Okay.
been preaching the same things, whether
Okay.
it's Membu and the like, for the last 5 or 10 years.
All
Uh,
right.
Switch from on-prem to cloud, switch from 7-8 year product cycle to short iteration path, switch from intangible, fixed, rigid tech capabilities into mobile, fast moving ones. We've been saying all those things for the past 5 to 10 years. I think
Okay.
what's changing is really like we are at the crossroad now between the risk perception associated with using alternative providers like us,
All
where
right.
it's become safer and safer to do it, while the urgency to do something is climbing
Mm-hmm.
as well. And so at some point you have like a crossroad between demand and supply that drives acceleration of adoption for products like ours. Whereas 5 or 10 years ago, we were still selling 10 years ago promises. It should be like this. And now we have evidence to show for it. And
Okay.
to actually do something is
All
at
right.
all time. Because, my biggest competitor is not Temenos.
Who is
It's not
that?
Go. It's statu quo. Let's wait
Say it
another.
again.
It's a status quo. Let's wait
Okay.
here before we do something. Let's
Ah, okay. I see. I
let's
get
wait,
your point.
let's wait another year to launch a digital bank. Let's wait
Okay.
another year to expand our geographical footprint. Let's wait another year to modernize what we have.
Mm-hmm.
That thing can probably go one step further. That's my
Mm-hmm.
petition.
I see.
Sam, I will tell you, if you combine the total revenue of the next gen category provider,
Okay.
we don't exceed altogether 300 million in revenue.
Quite small.
Okay. So the potential for that is huge. That only goes
Mm-hmm.
one, but
Mm-hmm.
the reality of the adoption level relative to the potential, we are
Yeah.
still paradoxically at early stage. If you think
Seems so
about
to me. Yeah. With
if
300 million.
you compare that to the 15 million of incumbent software revenues,
Right.
and alone if you compare that to the 60 billion of potential market that we all have, so yes, our category is growing very fast. Skaleet has been growing 40% per year, which is 4 times, 10 times
Mm.
the average growth of the market, for sure. But at the scale of market size we operate,
Yeah.
overall, as a category, we still represent a nascent category with a lot of promises. And now, obviously, luckily
Yeah.
enough for us, a lot of evidence to show for with actual customer stories, actual products that have been used, battle tested in production for a
Right.
decade.
Martin, what about AI? You said like basically we are selling the same thing and nothing has significantly changed. But what about AI? I think with the introduction of AI, core banking or and banking systems in general is going huge transformation. Are you guys doing anything in that direction?
Absolutely. I think the value proposition has not really changed,
Okay.
but the way to deliver that value proposition is changing a lot. And
Okay.
AI is a core vector of value delivery that we are all embracing very fast. I think
Mm-hmm.
I would say two things with regards to
Okay.
it. The first thing is that um, I hear a lot of CEOs willing to do AI projects
Okay.
for very good reasons in the banking space.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can do, it's a bit like when we started like modernizing front ends and application layers 5 years ago in banking. If
Correct.
you don't have the right backend foundations articulated around real-time API and modularity, you are never going to unlock the AI value at scale. You are going to be
Okay.
stuck in the proof of concept mode. Think about,
Mm-hmm.
for instance, agentic AI with regards to payments.
Right.
How are you going to trigger the payments
Mm-hmm.
that is triggered by an agent if your
Mm-hmm.
backend core banking is not API based? So therefore, you have no way to communicate with an MCP whatsoever. It's
Exactly.
real time. What's going to happen? Like the agent is going to send something, is going to be queued somewhere for a back
Mm-hmm.
office here to play with it overnight. That's never going to work. So
Mm-hmm.
the adoption of next gen core banking providers is a
Okay.
prerequisite for the exploitation of AI-based use cases. And basically what we see is an acceleration of demand for products
Mm-hmm.
like in order to unlock AI use cases. That's the first.
Okay.
Secondly, we are going to be the backbone to trigger those AI use cases as well. For instance,
Okay.
we are going to release our model context protocol for our payment engine in order
Mm-hmm.
for customers to be ready for the era of agentic commerce, where basically agents are going to trigger transactions on behalf of the humans. And therefore, we need to articulate the whole value chain for that to happen. And on top of that, Sam, as you can
I see.
imagine, as a software provider, we are becoming ourselves much better at doing our job thanks
Of
to AI.
course.
Usage of cloud, AI automation, all the way.
Mm-hmm.
We've been early adopters of N8N workflows that are now AI augmented. So we are becoming much faster, much more reliable, and much more productive in our value proposition delivery. Everything that our customers don't see, but we are just like going much faster and much better going forward.
Okay. Look, when it comes to AI, what do you think is the first thing in core banking system that AI would transform, in your opinion?
I think, and maybe I'm a bit biased towards
Mm-hmm.
payments because we invested
That's
a lot
okay.
in our payment engine. But in my mind, the real game changer with regards to banking is going to be the agentic commerce. Um,
Okay.
I think very quickly we are going to see a switch towards agentic-driven transactions, where
Okay.
I think we see the move of OpenAI towards as well, let's say the agentic commerce play, where we are going to translate very quickly
Mm-hmm.
human beings' intention of buying something or ideas into transaction decisions.
All right.
And I think the role that we all have as banking tech providers is to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that we enable
Right.
this end-to-end transaction flow with a lot
Okay.
of agents talking one to another. I think to me, from a customer value standpoint, this is probably the most important thing.
And the,
Se-
the first one. Mm-hmm.
uh, and I think so. That's with regards to tangible customer value.
Yeah.
I think with regards to core banking as a whole, um,
Okay.
one of the key challenges with regards to what we do is knowledge and documentation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We are doing so many things ourselves that having the right documentation available at the right time in the right format for our people as well as
True.
our customers is really important. Deploying a RAG in order to facilitate that is very simple and game changer. And
Mm-hmm.
now, if you switch to a context that I'm living now, where you
Mm-hmm.
have in place, IBM AS400, like black and green screens of old legacy spaghetti code, like retro engineering the whole thing without having the people to do that is a mess.
Okay.
So if you have and I saw some very interesting startups growing in that space. If you have a way using AI to augment the level of understanding and documentation of the legacy code,
Mm-hmm.
then the whole migration switch much easier for companies like ours, and therefore the
Right.
rate of migration drops massively thanks to AI. So us as a product, we are going to become much better thanks to AI at manufacturing our stuff, at
Mm.
delivering value. The level of understanding of the legacy software we need to sunset is going to increase as well, to a point where the risk of transformation will be drastically reduced.
Yeah.
It's going to unlock massive value and let's say perception of ability to transform, because I think
Right.
that's really where the difficulty arises.
Martin, my last question of this podcast would be, what would be three main criteria, let's say banks, fintechs, or other financial institutions should look in a core banking service provider when they are doing a vendor evaluation?
Yeah. Um, I think the first one is really a technical one.
Okay.
In my mind, if there is one thing to check, how really real time the software is.
Okay.
Is real time something that has been added over time? Has it been architected really like in a telco kind of way to
Mm-hmm.
entirely real time and event based? I think if you don't have
Mm-hmm.
that, all the rest becomes very difficult. So that's the first.
Okay.
The second pillar is really time to market.
Time
Like I
to
said earlier, time kills all deal, time kills all project. So you need to do your homework in terms of how fast you can actually deliver tangible value.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's on a longer project, because you need some time to migrate, you need to have milestones with tangible value delivered. And therefore, for that, something that I don't see that often, paradoxically,
Okay.
is when you hire a candidate, like you do ref calls. Uh,
Right.
so calling as many customers as you can to make sure that what is being announced has actually been delivered in multiple
Yes.
instances with regards to time to market. And
Okay.
three, probably the most important one from a strategic standpoint, I think the bigger risk of SaaS adoption is
Mm-hmm.
map divergence. So you need to make sure as a company, as a bank or fintech, that the strategy of your core strategic provider aligns with
Mm-hmm.
yours.
Okay.
And this is what I pitch to my customers in Europe. Like, guys, we live and breathe to help companies like yours.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you show me a bank in the Philippines or somewhere else, I
Okay.
don't know if it works. Okay, for now, and that's
Right.
fine. That's my strategy.
Right.
And therefore, you have the insurance as a customer that all my bandwidth, roadmap,
Okay.
or product tech effort
Right.
is going to flow in items that you care about as a customer. And so that you don't have resources dilution
Mm-hmm.
across use cases where
Mm-hmm.
you the control over what is really of essence for you. So I think
Right.
strategic alignment with your providers, together with the real-time characteristics, as well as um, the ability to move forward quickly to deliver tangible value, are really the three things. If I were a buyer myself, I would look for.
I wish someone had told me these insights in my previous companies when we were evaluating potential providers. That would be really, really helpful because I know for certain in certain points we did make mistakes, and especially with the last point because again we were looking at some different things and our providers were looking at some different things, and eventually I mean we went one way and they went another way and nothing worked overall.
The
Martin,
moment,
thank you.
no, one last thing I would say, the moment you
Sure.
end up with an RFP with 800 rows in an Excel to evaluate
Right.
fit one to another with a yes or
Wow.
no kind of thing, you are done.
Of
That's something
course.
I think this is really
Yeah.
important to know. Like the decision making processes are also changing
Of
towards
course.
tangible value delivery instead of comparing some features one to another. Okay, you need to have like the stuff that's needed for sure, but it
Yeah.
cannot be the only assessment
Features.
to an RFP.
Yeah. Martin, thank you very much for your time. It was really, really pleasure speaking to you and learning more about core banking. I hope this conversation was helpful to my audience too when they are doing their evaluation of next core banking service provider. And thank you very much once again.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Okay.